Welcome to another video for WinBidPro version 16 by GDS Estimating. In this one I'd like to talk about corner posts. So the WinBidPro software is a two-dimensional drawing program, so it doesn't give you a three-dimensional view of elevations or a plan view per se, but what we can do is put the components in a drawing that are needed to create a corner. So a corner post is something we would use the alternate tab for, but it's also something that we have to use the assembly feature in the framing system for. So if I edit the framing system, say for this first elevation, for this main elevation, and I go to components, on the left, let's say we're going to have the left jamb is going to be a corner, and then the next elevation, the right jamb of that one, will meet up with this. So that means in this framing system for this elevation, I'm going to create a new assembly for the left jamb, and I'm going to call it a corner, oops, I actually call it a corner post. Gotta get my fingers working first. So corner post, and let's say it's a 4-inch post. So we're going to change the profile. So since this is a new assembly, we need to add some part numbers. I don't know the numbers offhand for YKK's corner post, so I'm just going to go to the browse, type in the word corner here, and here's a 90-degree corner mullion. So let's pick that. So you get the idea. You would basically pick whatever stock lengths, whatever hardware is needed, whatever gasket material, all those things can be picked here. And then once you've done that, you can click OK. And something to keep in mind is if the framing system uses the same gasket inside and out, even if it's a different inside and out gasket, there would be two part numbers down here. But those parts can be put under glazing gasket instead of each individual assembly. It's just a little faster that way if it uses the exact same gasket throughout all the members. But if it's a system that uses different perimeter glazing gasket or something like that, you can actually put the part numbers into each assembly for gasket material. So in this case with an alternate corner post, if it's using the same gasket, you don't really have to mess with adding gasket to that new assembly. So just something worth mentioning. So I'm going to save this now that I've entered that left assembly, and it is going to let me now go to the alternate tab, click edit, and then I'm going to select by clicking on the left jamb here, and it turns that green. And you'll notice it knows that that's currently using the left jamb assembly, but when I drop down the list I can click corner post. And remember, you can always add a new assembly here. I just happen to do it first in the elevations tab, but I can do it here and it would let me add that same assembly and save it. So now that I save this, we see my 4-inch post profile there. So the next step is to go to the next elevation. And remember, I said the right side of this elevation is going to join up with the left side of the previous elevation. So what I want to check here, I guess we can click edit. We can click the right jamb on this one. Oh, I know what I was going to do. So sorry. We're going to go back to this framing system. If I had already edited a framing system in this job and I told it to save those changes to the entire job, let's call it, so every framing system or every elevation that uses that same frame for this job, then whatever I did to that last change I made, that new assembly I added would have been added here. But that wasn't the case. So that one frame was already independently edited, that framing system for that one elevation. So when I made a change to it, it didn't trickle down throughout the rest of the elevations. So in this case, I need to add a new assembly. But what I was going to say was if that assembly was there, I could have actually used this little copy feature. I could have copied it and told it to go to the right jamb assembly of this one. And then the trick is we don't want to include the parts twice, but we do want the 4-inch post profile. So in this case, instead of doing the alternate thing and all that, I mean, I can actually change the profile of the standard right jamb, and you'll see where I'm going with this. I'm going to leave the part number alone, so I'm just going to change the profile, and this, now it's going to ask me if I want this only to be for the current elevation or all the others. So I'm going to say only the current, because I'm kind of making a unique change here. So I changed the profile of the right jamb, but right now it's including a part number. So if I don't want it to include that part number, there's a couple things I can do. I can go back to the framing system and I can simply just delete the part number. So now I've got a right jamb profile of 4 inches with no part number, and that's one way to do it. So another option is, if I left the part number the way it was, I can go to the exclude tab, I can click edit, and then I can exclude the right jamb, and I could save that. And now you'll notice it's got the dashed lines here. It's still got the cock joint, which we actually don't want, so we would actually take out the cock joint too. So I'm going to take out the right cock joint. Oh, I'm not highlighting anything, I'm just typing a 0 in there. So now I've got no cock joint on the right because it's a corner. I've got dashed lines showing that that's excluded. So if I did, again, if I did have part numbers in that right jamb that I changed the profile for, using the exclude feature would exclude those part numbers, but it still draws the profile into the elevation. But it does show those dashed lines. So if you don't want to see that, we can actually not use the exclude feature, and we can have no part number in that right jamb assembly, which is what I did. I've removed the part for it. So now the last thing to do is to go back to this elevation and tell it we don't want a cock joint on the left side. So I'm going to 0 out that cock joint. So now it's showing me the red member that's alternate. So that's an alternate left jamb. And if we go back to our alternate tab, it's telling us we have a different left jamb, which is called vertical 0, if we were to number those verticals. And the assembly it's using is corner posts. So I'm kind of confirming what I've done. And then in the return window that meets up with it, I can see that I've got my right jamb that's been modified, and I would just know that I deleted the part for that. So there's a few ways to go about this. That's one way. I could have created an alternate right jamb assembly with just a profile and then selected that with the alternate here. So wanted to kind of give you all the options, and you can do what you like. Thanks for watching.